Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Neglected and Becomes the God of Creation and Destruction Part 13. Before we start, please go support Ethan 1939 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Part 78 Awakening. The battle between the white-haired girl and Issei was still going on. This time Issei had the advantage. He was with his arms crossed while having a mocking smile. The boy was throwing thousands of swords made of light without stopping. It was beginning to make it difficult for the albino to get to where Issei was, since the thousands of swords did not allow it. At one point she even shot herself, creating several clones, but as soon as they appeared, they were destroyed by the swords made of light. The albino did not like that to happen, since she had almost no opportunity to attack, and when she did, these were traps, so that Issei could hurt her. The magical protection seals that were on the walls every time an Issei attack hit this, it weakened until it was almost completely destroyed. Queen. Ari. The girl couldn't finish speaking since she had to dodge a sword that went straight to her neck. Issei. Ha, come on, that's it. Don't you prefer to negotiate? She said mockingly. The albino only stood there while she prepared a special attack. Issei continued throwing swords, while her two companion swords watched the battle seriously, but a certain black-haired woman was a little nervous. The albino in a moment disappeared in a small white flash and appeared a couple of meters behind, ready to shoot with her gun. Queen. Sergeant bang. Issei only saw the bullet coming in slow motion while he still had a smile, but at that moment the bullet disappeared repeatedly. Issei was surprised by that, but at that moment, multiple white flashes appeared to see that now thousands of bullets were heading towards Issei. He was simply surprised, but he just smiled. Each of the bullets upon impact caused a large screen of smoke, and the albino smiled when she saw that they made impact. Queen. Phew, I must say Issei hyoudou while panting a little, no one has ever made me retreat in such a way. You made me spend a lot of my mana. Do you know how many of these sorcerers we will have to kill to recover my magic? Of course, you didn't kill those who weren't killed yourself, he said with a smile. The albino saw how the smokescreen vanished to see in shock how a barrier of light had prevented the bullets from touching Issei. The barrier was decided while Issei was completely intact. The albino saw how some sorcerers were hiding under corpses from evil dragons, rubble, or even these were protected by magic circles that in the end they managed to make some of those injured by the battle. Why do not you die, he shouted, the chestnut trying to cut Gondor. Issei saw how the silver-haired girl was having some difficulties with the brunette and he was willing to help her, but at that moment the man with the penguin mask stopped his partner. Enough, said the masked man, we already have what we wanted. It's time to go. First, can't this old woman won't let me kill anyone, I have to kill her, she said. She was totally furious. That's enough, Kyoko, said the masked man. Kyoko? Hey, I think we said our identities would be secret, said the brunette showing her face. Why are you exposing us, king of the night, he said. Well, the boy also took off his mask, showing a young boy with pale skin and yellow eyes. RDN. Because we already had what we wanted, besides. Haha, we won't need masks for the new world that is coming. It's time to go, he said. Well, the albino woman opened a portal where the three entered. Before the albino disappeared, she looked at Issei and her two companions with a smile. Queen. I look forward to our next battle, and please Kurumi-chan, tell your master the truth and unlock all your power, or the next battle will not be fun, he said as he slowly disappeared through the portal. Goodbye, Ice-kun. Take care of my little sister. Said before the portal closed and despised. Issei only saw that seriously while he calmed down. Around her the magicians who were still in the place calmed down and lowered their guard, seeing that everything was over. Under. Damn those bastards did it. They took away a lot of wizards, she said while she was healing her wounds a little. The silver-haired girl tried to heal her wound, but Issei quickly used her flames to heal her and the wounded around her quickly. Under. Thank you. Issei. It's okay, by the way, where is Yukli-chan and the other girl? At that moment, the girl pulled Issei's raincoat a little, drawing her attention, while Louise noticed that it was a little dirty and had small scratches. Issei. I'm glad you're both okay, but. Looking at some places in the totally ruined place. I think I went a little overboard with my attacks. Under. Yes, you should have focused a little more on protecting the magicians, but it's okay, you saved a handful of them. And you also managed to destroy the seal and let others escape. Reinforcements even arrived, but you didn't notice. However, it was not enough to save them all. Issei. Yes, but I think I hurt some. Under. If we hadn't done so, the battle would have spread further and more magicians would have been kidnapped. We will recover them all later, he said, while putting his hand on Issei's shoulder, but the battle still continues very close to here. Tell me. How fast can you fly? Issei upon hearing that just smiled and took out her wings. Issei. Well, let's find out. Elsewhere, Academia Oros. Back with the DXD group, everyone was upset about what happened in the battle against Grendel, but they couldn't help him. They had to protect the school and the families at any cost. Yu, Kiba and Zenobia were already starting to get exhausted. Even Rugel was starting to have problems killing the evil dragons on land. While Gasper could not make enough creatures because he still did not fully control his power, they could only resist until the reinforcements arrived. The members of the Bale clan tried to run to help their king, but there were too many evil dragons preventing them from passing. Saji, on the other hand, looked at the evil dragon with anger while he squeezed his hands in impotent anger for not being able to do anything. They began to bleed from so much force that he applied. Grendel simply began to mock them while he throws some debris at the school. Tsubaki quickly activated several barriers to stop them, but some of these managed to destroy the walls of the school. Saji. Stop. Grendel. Ha, look, lion boy, the school that they tried so hard to protect is falling into pieces. Is that thing so important? I thought worms like you appreciated your lives more. The black-haired man gets up with great difficulty while facing the evil dragon. Saryog. I knew that an obese lizard like you wouldn't understand that. He said while looking at the dragon. It's not the school. It's its purpose, the sacrifice it took to make it, what it took to handle it, the sacrifice that the students will have to make to fulfill their dreams. Even though my fist does not carry the power of destruction, I will destroy you. My name is Saryog Bale. The next warrior of the great house Bale. The black-haired man concentrated all his power in his fist to give one last breath of battle, barely running without losing his balance against the evil dragon, but with a movement of his tail, he stopped the black-haired man and then stepped on his chest, breaking some of his ribs. The black-haired man had screamed in pain from his broken bones, while the others watched with anger and could not help. Saji and Kaneko tried to stop him, but it was useless. The evil dragon took his mallet with his good arm and hit Saji with it, while Kaneko dodged it in the air and kicked the dragon, but it didn't even flinch. Grendel smiled as he waited to continue fighting, but a magical communication circle appears near his ear. Grendel. Let me retire. You've got to be kidding me. I'm in the middle of snacks. I don't give a shit if the mission was a success. Okay, I'll go. Hahaha, thanks for the fight, brats, but I hope you understand the wounds they caused me will be nothing once I improve my body once again. His path. Grendel heads forward resignedly, but his step is stopped when he realizes that the same black-haired man he kicked is stopping his tail without standing. Grendel. I admit your determination, demon boy, but I told you, I have no use for broken toys, he said as he began to kick him harder, but the black-haired man didn't let go. Piece of shit, let go of me, why do you insist so much on staying standing? Piece of shit, he said while he continued kicking him, if you had stayed on the ground, I would have opened up and left you alive, he said, while raising his mallet with his arm still healthy, but before killing the black-haired man he was stopped by a blonde. Saji used all of his power to stop him, trying to leave him with energy, while looking at him with anger. You too. Does everyone want to die today? He said, something annoyed, but then that annoyance changed to a sick smile. Well, good for me, he said to try to hit him, but Momo and Tsubaki launched magic attacks to distract him. Saji. Now Kaneko-chan. The evil dragon turns around and sees how the white-haired girl changes her image to a more mature one. It is her Shirin mode. She quickly raises her hands and sees how she concentrates a lot of energy in them. Grendel begins to notice that his body turns to dust before the white flash of the Nekomata and tries to stop it, but it is useless. Saji, using all his strength, stops his only arm, determined to stop him. Grendel. They're going to pay for this once I have my new body. Kaneko. No, you will never have a body again. Your soul will be sealed. Here and now, he said while holding a green gem in his hands. Grendel's body began to disappear while he was screaming in anger, and then suddenly the flash stopped while the Nekomata landed carefully. Asia. Kaneko-chan, he said happily while arriving with Yuri and Arena. Saji. Well done, Kaneko-chan, but where did you get that gem? Kaneko. My sister gave it to me, she said with a smile. She asked Issei for it in case something bad happened. The best one fell a little agitated on Arena's chest, and she almost believed that she would achieve. Bolberga from above began to see how the number of evil dragons was decreasing, and as the demons were victorious, they regrouped little by little, especially the DXD team, and with contempt he descended slowly while they looked back at him. Bolberga. I admit that I am somewhat disappointed with that evil dragon being defeated by the lackeys of the important demons. No, the junior demons. Luckily the plan in Agar's was a success, but I don't want to come without a little fun, he said while slowly extending his arm. At that moment, giant burning pillars rose and stood above the school, threatening to destroy everything. Sona. No, not school, she said desperately, invoking tails of circles as protective barriers with the help of Roswas, managing to reduce the impact, but it was not enough. The flames begin to overflow, burning parts of the school, causing desperation to the Citri clan. Rias. Aim at that witch. All. Hi. Bolberga. Rain of fire brimstone. As he said that, small pieces of purple flames began to fall to spread the fire even more. Not only that, a second attack of pillars was heading towards Sona and Roswas, but they were protected by Azara and her armor. Little by little they were preventing the flames will burn the school, but in a moment another attack of flames, even stronger, was heading towards Sona. She was about to use a magic circle to protect herself, but her pawn was faster. Saji put himself in the middle of the attack and protected Sona. Saji. Gruerg, she screamed while the flames burned the blonde skin a little. Sona. Saji, get away, you will die at this rate, she screamed as she shed some tears along with the other girls in his entourage. The blonde did not pay attention, and with a smile he continued protecting the king from him. The blonde fell to his knees, while little by little the flames burned his skin. Saji. He may not be as strong as anyone in Ryo-san's group. He said while trying to get back on his feet. I may be a coward, despite having a dragon sealed inside me, and be weak for not even having it completely in my being. As he began to breathe heavily. Even I thought it would be impossible to endure Seryog-san and hyoudou's training. But Issei earned my respect, and I'm sure he won a little of his. And like Issei and Seryog-san. I'm also willing to die for mine. I will become a teacher and help Kaichu and my students to fulfill their dreams. Onya begins to cry for her pawn's plants. Not only her, the others know how Saji, despite his cowardice, admired the albino, arriving on the day when he asked to train him, so that he could also have the strength and courage to protect his family members. Volberga. Well, those are brave words from a dead man, he said, raising his right arm in Saji's direction, but let's put that protecting your loved ones to the test. The dragon threw a cross of fire towards Momo which she was barely able to dodge, but she ended up with part of her body burned somewhat. Volberga. Wow, you guys are very sneaky, but don't worry, this time I'll manage to kill you. The woman threw a large pole of fire, but it was stopped by Akiba and his white sword. Saji fell to the ground tired, but before they fell silent, hyoudou held him while he had his black sword in his hand. Hyoudou. Saji, we will help you quickly use Vitra to absorb the power of my sword, he said while looking at the blonde. Saji. But. Hyoudou. In this situation there are no buts, your duty now is to kill that witch, so do it quickly. Saji swallowed hard to touch the black sword with his glove. The whip tangled around the sword so that a sea of black fire covered Saji. Hyoudou backed away upon seeing that pillar of fire, while Kibo also backed away. Volberga, somewhat intrigued by this great power, watched as the flames reeked until Vitra's voice was heard inside the flames. Stained glass. Balance breaker. Dark malleable Vitra promotion. A great gust of wind and fire raises a cloud of smoke. Even Volberga was surprised to feel that great power, and when the smoke screen dispersed, Saji was seen covered in black armor, with extensions similar to tentacles or scorpion tails, still with black flames around it. Volberga. Wow, very impressive. But still inefficient, she said, extending her arm to launch a purple pillar of fire. The flames headed toward Saji, but a sea of black flames came out of his arm to consume and extinguish the dragon's flames. Saji. I'm going to burn you to death, bitch. Seeing that, the woman just snapped her fingers so that the remaining evil dragons launched themselves at Saji. When he saw them coming, she only extended her tentacles, and the pints of these crossed them, while the dragons seemed to be dying, while the tentacles absorbed the vitality of she. Volberga. Very interesting, she said as she rose into the air. Saji headed towards the woman at great speed and gave her a strong blow to her face, sending her flying many meters back. She stabilized herself while Saji still looked imposing. The battle evolved into an aerial battle where Saji maintained the advantage. Asia and the others helped the injured people while they saw how Saji fought with great skill against the woman. Zenobia. I never believed that Saji's power could reach so far. Kiba. No. He absolved the power of Yu's sword, so he awakened his balance breaker. Now he is at a much higher level, he said, looking seriously at Saji fighting. The boys watched the battle, but at that moment they heard the male voice of a certain gray-haired man. Euclid. Very interesting, maybe he steals some of his power for studies. Roswas. Kaya, she screams as she is taken as she sends Sona flying with one of his attacks, enveloping Roswas with a spell. Euclid. How are you, TXT team? Riaz. Euclid, son of. Euclid. Come on, Riaz, you can call me Ani-san or brother-in-law if you like, don't worry about your servant, I will treat her well, he said, stroking her hair. I promise that she will be like that. Roswas. Get your dirty hands off me, she said, struggling. Riaz. Let go. Biba was about to act and cut him in half with his sword, but at that moment he took out a knife and put it on the silver-haired girl's neck. Euclid. No, don't do it, or you will regret it, he said with a smile. You will discover that our intentions are the best, don't worry, I am not allowed to kill your friend, we will use her to free the Trahixa and fight our battle of conquest. Biba. I thought your priority is to free the primeval gods. Euclid. That part of the plan is already complete, he said, showing how the entire city of Ageres was teleported, but Roswas will be part of our plan B. Riaz. Plan B. he said looking at how the gray-haired man smiled. Euclid. You don't think we will rely entirely on the gods of chaos? No, our plan is deeper than that. If we are going to conquer the galaxy. The best thing will be to have all the military force in our hands. Roswis. You won't make it. When Issei arrived, I'll kick your ass. Euclid. Let's agree to disagree. Euclid laughed while at that moment everyone felt a great power. Euclid at that moment saw a kind of comet or meteor heading towards him, and it quickly crossed the barrier. The barrier crumbled as if it were a mirror, and the colored comet black disappeared to see that he was actually an Issei next to Gondar. Euclid, upon seeing that, was shocked while at great speed, he received a big blow to the face from the boy while holding Roswis in the air in a nuptial manner. Issei. You know, idiot. If you talk about the devil, he might appear to you, he said while having a smile. All. Issei I senpai ani, chan ice-kun. Part 79 Repercussions. Now in the destroyed Oro's academy you can see an Issei entering the scene while looking at Euclid seriously. Euclid. Issei hyoudou said seriously looking at our dear albino in the sky carrying Roswis in a nuptial manner. Roswis. I Issei-kun, she said in surprise as she looked at Issei while she was being carried. Several evil dragons upon seeing him tried to attack him, but Lin decided on petals that then turned into thorns that began to pierce the bodies of all the dragons, thus killing them. Euclid. I don't have time for this, she said activating a teleportation circle, but Issei quickly flew towards him. The silver-haired woman activated a magic circle from where she launched arrows that sent energy towards Euclid. Euclid backed away, narrowly avoiding Roswis's attacks, but at that moment he received a big blow to the face from a certain silver-haired woman. Gondar. I won't let you take my granddaughter, you idiot. The gray-haired man, upon receiving the blow, retreated while she also prepared to attack. While Issei left Roswis on the ground, Gondar began to attack Euclid. The older silver-haired woman's attacks were fast, but Euclid dodged them with some difficulty. At one point Euclid was able to summon a demonic dagger, and he nailed it into Gondar's arm. Roswis. Grandma, she said as she watched Gondar fall to the ground while Euclid watched her with some mockery. The gray-haired man summoned another dagger to kill the woman, but Issei gave him a blow that broke her nose and pushed him away. Roswis arrived to help her grandmother, while Euclid looked at Issei with annoyance. Euclid. Damn hybrid, we were having so much fun without you, why the hell did you come? Issei. Come on, don't be mean, give me some fun too, he said throwing himself against the grey danger. While Roswis was tending to his grandmother's wound, Issei hit the grey-haired man hard. Blow after blow he went towards his face, and every time Issei hit him he bled more. At one point Euclid knew that he could not defeat Issei fighting hand to hand like that. That two pairs of lizard wings emerged from his back. Seeing that, Issei became serious, but the gray-haired man's hands also changed. They became some kind of whips that grabbed Roswis from behind, trapping her. He quickly began to fly and try to escape. Issei, seeing that, just took out his wings to chase him, but at one point, Yui told him something that stopped him. Yui. Master, Mrs. Gondar's life force is decreasing, I think she needs immediate attention. Issei turned around and saw how Gondar did not react. The Asgardian's veins were marked with a purple color, while it spread rapidly through her body, giving the understanding that the dagger was poisoned. Issei had to choose at that moment, go after the villain and save his girl or save Gondar. Obviously it was a simple decision, but a part of him told him that it was better to let her die and kill that bastard once and for all. By Euclid. Issei in the end just shook his head, leaving those thoughts and going with Gondar, letting Euclid escape for the moment. Issei came down from the sky while he watched the poison spread through the veins of the older silver-haired woman. Asia. Gondar-san, resist, he said while healing her wound. Issei. Wait, he said, stopping Asia, if you close her wound and we don't extract the poison she will still die. Gondar. Cough cough, I'm fine. I've already had worse injuries, he said weakly. Issei. Maybe, but none of the wounds had this poison, so shut up while it helped you, he said seriously. Issei quickly using alcohol disinfected the wound, and before the poison continued to spread, he began to suck the poison into his mouth. It spit out the almost purple-black poison, while Gondar's veins took on their normal color. When Issei finished this, he quickly healed his wound, while the silver-haired girl was still lying on the ground. Issei. I think that will be enough. Gondar. Boy, please save my granddaughter, he said looking at Issei, while you could see some anger and desperation in his eyes. Issei. Don't worry, I'll save her, I promise, he said as she stood up. Kiba and you protect the others, I will be in charge of bringing Roswis back. Lin, after slaughtering a good number of dragons, returned to her sword form to be on Issei's back again. Lin. We have to go quickly, master, since they are moving away. Issei. Okay, I'm leaving, he said as he took out his wings, and in a burst of speed he took flight. Rias. You can ice. With Issei, he was flying at full speed trying to catch up with Euclid and Roswis, while Yui and Lin helped him, saying how close they were. Yui. It's about 50 meters away, master, speed up your pace a little more and you'll reach it. Issei. Understood, he said while in another burst he increased his speed. Issei in the distance watched as Roswis was held by those strange tentacle arms, while Euclid tried to escape. Issei. Hey idiot, give me back my girl, he said, drawing the attention of the dangerous man next to the silver-haired girl. Roswis. Issei-kun. Euclid. You know, for a long time I asked myself, what is a demon? For a while I believed that our species should spread evil within itself as most humans believe, but after meeting you, after meeting Surzich's Lucifer. After meeting me. Said with a dry tone. I realized that being a demon doesn't just mean that. No, it's something more banal, and I think you know what it means to be a demon. Being a demon means doing whatever you want to having the freedom to impose your will. That's why we are demons, because we aspire to be God. The gray-haired man only watched as Issei got closer and closer, but he noticed that Issei remained silent, assuming that he had all his attention. My sister was the person I admired the most. She followed all the values that we were taught since we were little. She was the stronger and braver woman than anyone. I felt proud to be her brother. But when she decided to join the side of the false Lucifer, I went into a kind of shock, an existential crisis. The person I admired and loved the most had me failed. Do you know what it's like for your series to fail you? The albino had already reached the silver-haired girl, but he did nothing. He simply remained silent, worrying Yui and Lin a little, along with Roswis, who was still listening to the conversation. Euclid. I came to a conclusion after meeting you, Issei hyoudou, who acted as he wanted and brought a new environment to the underworld in heaven. You, my sister, the false Lucifer and the heiress of the Citri clan, did what they wanted without have retaliation. I don't see why I wouldn't. Issei. And what the hell do you want, idiot? Do you want revenge against Surzich's? Do you want to be the new demon king or something? Or do you just want Grafia to see her little brother throwing a tantrum because of lack of attention again, he said, annoyed, looking at the gray-haired man. Euclid. No, that doesn't matter to me. My purpose is more than that. You see, I will show the children the true path. I will show them what a real demon is, the old principles. They will bring the old glory to our species, and we will become the supreme species not only in the underworld, but in the human world, in the entire galaxy. Issei. And you will use Roswis alone to free 666. Do you think she will stay by your side after that? Euclid. That's the fun thing. In our new order I will create a new sister, and this time she will not disappoint me. Roswis. I'd rather die. Euclid. I'm sure we will find a way. Or our new friends will find it. So they say, weapons of God and Demon King. Yui and Lin. What? Euclid. How about you join me? I'm sure we will give you what you want. We can even make you more than weapons. We can even make you the new rulers of the world and not that stupid hybrid. So. What they say. Yui. You really are crazy. Lin. We don't care about that. As long as I love this one with us we are happy. Yui. Besides, now Master will surely send you to the last circle of the underworld so that you suffer eternally. Euclid, upon hearing that, just looked at Issei with anger while he remained serious. Euclid. It seems that you have some very devoted maids, but I am already sure that in the future they will obey me just like everyone else in this world. He said while Issei still did not speak. What's wrong, hybrid? The cat ate your tongue. Don't you have any more ridiculous jokes or references left? He said while not having an answer. He got angrier. Do you think that because you have the power to destroy the world and massacre an army, you are better than I? Issei. Euclid. Well, you're not. I will finish you. I will end this world. I will finish everyone in that school. In fact, I will start with that pathetic school, he said, snapping his fingers. Issei. Wait, I was distracted for a moment. What did you say? Huan. A big explosion came from Sona's school at that moment, the silver-haired girl and both girls' swords looked at it somewhat surprised while a mountain of dust rose up. Issei. You failed. Euclid. How could I fail? Issei. I don't know, how could you? Euclid. I put several explosive seals on those cowardly dragons. Luckily, if the last order for them to return and wait for my order. The school they focused so much on protecting is now shattered. Issei. Seriously, what's wrong with you? Why do you like to exploit places? Euclid. I thought you would be more upset about that. He said while looking at Issei with a mocking smile. Where is the fury of that great man who will dominate everything? Doesn't it bother you that those pathetic lower-class families have died? Do you agree that our world should only be ruled by the upper class? Maybe you're more like us than we think. Issei. Oh no, of course I'm angry, but why don't you look again, idiot? Euclid, upon hearing that, just looked through the curtain of dust as a white barrier had protected the school, while in the sky Kiba was wearing his white armor. Issei. Did you think killing us would be so easy? You really are an idiot. Yui and Lin. Master. Issei. Yes, girls. Both. Finish that son of a bitch. Issei. Yes, sir. Issei quickly rose higher into the air while he had blue rose in his hand. Issei. Girls, you don't know how much I love you right now, he said with a big smile. Issei started shooting at Euclid. The gray-haired man summoned the same black armor as in the vampire territory while he tried not to get shot. Issei quickly landed a hard blow on the gray-haired man's face, which caused his helmet to break. Issei. Now girls. Saying that Yui and Lin took their human forms and using their fire they burned Euclid's hand's tentacles, making him complain a little about the pain. Both girls took Roswis into the air while Issei continued his battle against Euclid. When Euclid moved away from Issei's blow, he only created a kind of gauntlet similar to the booster gear, and it lit up a little. The glove quickly created a red sphere from which he pulled out a crimson sword. He tried to cut Issei, but Issei quickly dodged the gray-haired man's attacks with ease. At one point Issei used his revolver as a sword, thus clashing weapons facing each other. Euclid? You know I've made some upgrades to my armor since our last battle. Hearing that, Issei felt something pass through his leg. At that moment he saw how the gray-haired man's hair lengthened and curled up, forming drills. Seeing the wound on his leg, Issei tried to back away, but was held by the man's other hair. Euclid? Ha 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 ha, what do you think, he said arrogantly. Issei. Congratulations. You've become a blonde tsundere, he said with mockery. The knight only tied his hair tightly to Issei, while he simply looked at the gray-haired man in armor with some mockery. Euclid? Hahaha, you know I didn't just use lizard blood. The new recruits contributed a little of their DNA for my benefit and that of our troops. He said while burying the pint of his hair on the limbs from Issei. What's wrong, hybrid? It's not the only modification I made to some dragons. Now. You're going to die. Issei. I'm sorry, but it happened. Now. Yui. Euclid? What? The gray-haired man looked to his side and only saw Yui with a kind of sword made of energy of destruction, while he saw Euclid. Yui. Jitsuga Tenahu, she said while her power of destruction was launched towards the gray-haired man. Euclid? Ai. While the gray-haired man screamed in pain upon receiving that tremendous attack, the albino burned the man's hair, thus freeing himself while he covered himself with his white flames. After a while the albino stood up while his wounds regenerated. After Yui's black flames disappeared, the four boys saw a gray-haired man knocked out on the ground, missing part of his hair, his lizard arm completely eaten away and part of his body seriously injured, although he was still breathing. Yui, after using so much power, was a little tired, while Issei congratulated her and had a big smile when she heard the name of that attack shout. In the distance you could see troops of demons arriving to help, while the albino and the others met with the others were happy to know that everyone was alive and only part of the school was destroyed in the attack of the evil dragons. Saji, also using his armor, easily killed the remaining dragons, although in the end he was very exhausted and full of burns. He was laid down on a stretcher next to Sareog and the others, but he did not care about the pain, he was only happy that his companions were alive. Azazel at one point appeared to help and listen to the DXD team's report while he looks at the albino still watching the scene. Issei. Sorry, I couldn't stop them. Azazel. No, but you delayed them quite a bit. Even then that decrepit old man would have taken them all to the city. Not to mention that you gave us a great prisoner of war. Issei just smiled, but he saw how Sona was a little sad to see how his school was destroyed. Seeing that, Issei had an idea, and flying in the sky, he began to use his white flames to quickly repair the school. When Issei repaired the school, he only saw how Sona was in shock, releasing tears of joy along with her other companions in the entourage. And Asaji just raised his thumb with some joy while being healed by Asia. When Issei was back on the ground, he was tackled by a very happy Sona. Sona. Grace. Sniff sniff. Really thank you, he said happily while releasing some tears. Issei just smiled as he returned the hug, but a silver-haired girl was also hugging Issei. Roswis. Issei-kun. Thank you. Issei. I told you that I would protect you. And the promise still stands, he said with a smile that made the silver-haired girl blush. While he was hugging both girls, a certain silver-haired woman looked at Issei with a small smile. Bonder. Hey boy, he said, drawing Issei's attention. Take good care of my granddaughter, and we haven't finished talking yet. Roswis. A grandma, she said blushing. Issei. Don't worry, I will do it with my life, he said, causing an impact on Roswis's heart, which made her blush more. Bonder. I'm glad to hear that, she said leaving. Roswis. Issei-kun. Next time. Could we? Riaz. So Revengers E? She said looking at Issei somewhat annoyed. Issei. Well, if you don't like the name, I thought I would change the name to Justice League or Suicide Squad. Riaz. Sigh. And when were you going to tell me that you had social networks? Issei. What? You did not know? Every day, yes, look, she said showing him some photos with the others and others that were a bit more perverted. Riaz. How did they not tell me this, she said looking at the others. All. You never asked, they answered simply. Riaz just got a little angry, but then took a selfie with Issei. Riaz. Well, now I also have photos together. Plus no tweets again. I checked several of the comments on your posts, and most of your followers are girls, so I won't let there be any more competence. Issei. Yes of course, she said with a nervous smile, while Riaz tweeted some things on her networks. Time skip elsewhere. The grey head can be seen chained up, with multiple seals on the walls, ceiling and floor of a room, while a red head enters it. Surziches. Hello, Euclid. Euclid. How are you, my dear brother-in-law? I didn't expect you to come to see me. Sirziches. There are so many things I want to tell you, but I will start with one. Why? Euclid. Why? Let's do something. After you meet with King Deviluk, come see me and ask me that again. Sirziches. That's Rizvan speaking. I want to hear it from you. Euclid. You don't understand. This is deeper than that. There is no turning back after what we just achieved. Do you think Trihexa is the worst thing that can be unleashed on this world? Let me tell you that my plan was just a whim. The real plan starts now. And another side. Rizvan. Thanks to you we were able to take over the city, he said, on his throne with you on our side. The victory against those aliens is assured. Emperor Belial. Belial. I am here to serve you. King of Demons. The young man is happy, but what happened to the rest of the sorcerers? Wasn't freeing Trihexa his priority? He said while the old man laughed. Rizvan. That's right. But we're not in a big hurry. And another side. Euclid. There will be nothing that can stop them. Well, a group of sorcerers bound with magic arrived at a dark temple escorted by demons, among them a pink-haired woman and a silver-haired woman who reacted with terror when they saw how people in robes. Black women worshipped a large hand-painted image of grotesque creatures next to some pyramids. Priest. Now we will begin the new era. Euclid. They are coming, he said as the temple scene took place. Art 80 King Deviluk. In Issei's house mansion, you can see our dear albino apparently being in a movie theater in his house. Apparently in his mansion there were even huge rooms that he himself didn't know he had. After a while, without knowing to do this, he decided to watch a movie with Yui and Lin. They were watching a very interesting movie about a team of criminals who had to defeat an evil witch who wanted to destroy the world. The three of them were calm and watching the movie, but Issei remembered something important that he had to ask. Issei. Hey, Yui said, get the girl's attention. Is your real name Kurumi? The girl, upon hearing such a question, only remained silent and tried to hide her surprised face in Issei's chest. Issei. And that white-haired girl was very similar to you, and she called you sister. What did she mean by that? Is she really your sister? Yui. Love. Like everyone, I have a past. But mine is somewhat complicated, she said, somewhat depressed. Seeing that, Issei just caressed the girl's head and gave her a tender kiss to cheer her up. Issei. Sigh. Well, whatever you say, I won't force him to tell me anything, plus I don't really like remembering my past either, so. It's okay Yui, can you tell me when you want and when you're ready, that doesn't matter much anyway, right? She said looking at the girl. They say that the important thing is not the past, but the present. The black-haired girl upon hearing that just smiled tenderly as she hugged Issei's chest. Yui. He is very understanding and wise for her age, master, she said with a smile. Issei. Thank you, she said with a big smile. The three boys were still quietly watching the movie, but at that moment Riaz, Akeno and Ravel came kicking in the door. Riaz. Ice, you were supposed to be with me now, she said entering somewhat annoyed. Akeno. Ara Ice-kun, I need your company, said in a seductive way. Ravel. Issei-kun, I have a problem, can you help me? She asked somewhat embarrassed. Issei. I'm sorry, girls, I'm watching a movie, she said looking at the best part. Akeno. Our Ice-kun seems to be having fun, she said watching him eat popcorn with Yui and Lin. Issei. Yes, do you want to join? Akeno. Sure, he said to also watch the movie together with Issei. Ravel. Issei-kun, me too. Both girls also joined Issei, but one Riaz saw that with a pout. Riaz. Muau, well, since he also said joining them. After that Issei quietly watched the movie and at the end he attended to the needs of the three girls. And another side. Pilot. Here we are, Sector 218 Earth, said one of the pilots said, as a large fleet of motherships went into orbit is protected by Sub-Lieutenant 313 named Aston. Crewman. The planet where the Deviluk princesses and a member of the royal family of the planet members live temporarily. Crewman. Are you sure you can carry this out, Lucian-sama? She said looking at a little boy who was on her throne. Crew member. The computer records that the planet has been affected by space-time oscillations for a long time. The radiation levels are abnormal, but not fatal, said another of the crew members. It is believed that they are carrying out the discovery of wormholes. Lucians. It's probably one of Princess Lala's experiments, it doesn't matter, keep going. Time skip elsewhere. The albino and his friends had finally left school, it was winter vacation, the perverted duo was enjoying it, while the church trio was excited to spend their first Christmas together. Asia. How exciting, it's the first Christmas I'll spend with friends. And with Issei-san, she said blushing. Zenobia. Do demons celebrate Christmas? Tiba. Butchu has a party with his family, not to celebrate the Christian god, but for the winter solstice. In reality much of the underworld does it, but now that there is peace in the factions, it can probably be officially celebrated. Zenobia. It's exciting, my first Christmas as a demon, although Issei doesn't seem very excited, he said, looking at the distracted albino. Asia. Issei-san, he said pulling her shirt a little, drawing her attention, doesn't he like Christmas? Issei. quite the opposite, gifts, sweets, punch that is mostly alcohol, I love Christmas, but this year. She said while a macabre smile appeared. That's not my objective. Issei quickly prepared a couple of things in the living room, lit the fireplace, closed the curtains and prepared some cookies and milk to tell a peculiar story. Everyone was in the room looking at an Issei who was now sitting in a chair made of wood, he was wearing glasses and had a book the size of someone's head in his hands. Issei. You see, this year is not being a very good boy so to speak, he said with a smile. You? Don't tell me that. Issei. That's right, this year I don't want to see Santa, I want to see Krampus, the terror of Christmas incarnate, he said, showing an image that appeared in the book about Krampus. Yu and Kiba, upon seeing that, just sighed from exhaustion, but a certain transvestite vampire saw Issei with stars in his eyes. Asper. Issei-senpai is amazing. Kiba. No, don't admire him. Gasper. Irina. I doubt Ice-kun will be possible this year. Issei. What are you talking about, Mu? Cough cough. I mean Irina. Irina. I was sorry to have to interfere with your goal. This year, but apparently heaven gave us a very important task. The Christmas project. All. Christmas project. Ikeno. Ara, it seems like they took it with great joy, he said next to Arideed. Riaz. Sigh, just when I thought we would have our first Christmas with ice, Michael Dono leaves us this task. Azazel said that at first it seemed like a bad idea, but someone in heaven intervened and it seems that they left us this task. Ikeno. It will be a lot of fun, and also when Ice-kun puts on a Santa suit. Riaz. Well, it will be fun. Ikeno. Fufufu, and it will be better when the party is over and I can give my gift to Ice-kun, she said seductively. Elsewhere, Underworld. In the large hall of the Underworld were the four masks talking with a hologram of Odin and another of Yukasa, while Barakiel and Azazel arrived from a teleportation circle. Azazel. It seems like we're early, he said mockingly. Odin. Well, there is always a first time for everything, by the way, aren't we missing someone else? Azazel. Michael is still taking preventive measures, as far as the angels knew, life on earth was the favorite of the Christian God. His sensitivity to him is at the breaking point, plus inviting a group of demons can aggravate the situation. Michael. I am not afraid of controversy against my Azazel, he said, appearing in a magic circle. My goal is that my people do not stray from the right path. Azazel. I think you should order your priorities. Ajuka. Here it is, he said seriously. The teleportation circle appeared on the other side of the room, in a room surrounded by guards demons, while they welcomed the guest, being surprised not only by the black tails that the men in suits who accompanied him had, very similar to the of the succubi, also by the infant who moved indifferently as he was guided to the meeting room. Odin. I wonder what kind of person this alien king is. Seraphol. Maybe with green skin and bulging eyes. Like Kappa's. Yukasa. What matters is that he comes with purposes of peace. Azazel. I totally agree. While they were talking, Graphia appeared to give the news of arrival to her guest. Graphia. Welcome Lord Gid Lucian Deviluk, she said, introducing the guest, the king of the planet Deviluk and emperor of much of the galaxy. The leaders at that moment were speechless. That great conqueror of worlds was in front of them, and he had a childish appearance, drinking a glass of wine, apparently thinking that it was a bad joke on the part of the true conqueror. Subordinate. Hey, what do you mean by a large part of the galaxy? Are they resisting the authority of the great Deviluk-sama? Okay, said the little black-haired man with a deep voice, surprising the leaders. The Earth is a neutral territory, since my daughters and several members of the nobility of the Intergalactic Union stay there, and their civilization is not ready to join my service. But I can't say the same about what do they call it? Underworld. Ajuka. Well, Lord Gid, the Underworld does not belong to the same solar system as the Earth. It can be said that it is another plane of space-time that accompanies the Earth, something like its shadow. Although it is not the only one existing, as far as we know that is far from their jurisdiction. But we haven't come to discuss that, right? Indeed, he said seriously. Is it true that the Underworld and the Earth are ruled by so few people? Barakiel. Lord Deviluk, the members of this meeting without the Incanis of myths, legends and religions, unfortunately the others have not yet settled their differences. Ooh. That's interesting, internal problems, by the way, where are the others? Azazel. The few you see here are the ones who have reached peace terms. On the other hand, what we call factions are still arguing about who will represent them. Odin. Everyone was excited to meet the great conqueror of worlds. Unfortunately, we commented on the limited number of chairs and the types of behaviors they would have when sitting with adults. I like Grandpa. Well, where do you want to start? Azazel. I'll start. Let's leave the formalities aside. Is Lord Deviluk familiar with what we call gods of chaos? On another side, the Gremory group was buying Christmas costumes in a cosplay store, while the girls were trying to buy something erotic to impress the albino, who and the boys were discussing something. Issei. Why can't I dress up as Krampus? You. Children are supposed to go, and with that costume you will terrify them and you will surely cause whitings. You. And you will surely traumatize someone. While Roswis asked the girls for advice about whether to wear a skirt or tights, the albino put the costume aside and left the store. Zenobia. Where did Issei go? She said, looking that it had disappeared. Roswis. I don't know, do you think it was somewhere? Zenobia. It's better that we send someone to accompany him. Kaneko, could you? The girl, looking at the girl, noticed that she was playing with a small shiny sphere, giving it small blows like a cat. Okay, Christmas decorations and cats are not a good combination. On another side, you can see how King Deviluk leaves with his men to return to his ship while the leaders continue arguing. Auden. So that's a conqueror of worlds. I'm starting to feel like my planet is small. Michael. Let's not get carried away. The real threat is on the way, but after what he said. Id. Maybe it's best to add to the land under my command, then they'll be safer. Azazel. What do you think, Surziches? On King Deviluk's ship, a little pink-haired girl appeared in the commands. Soldiers. Momo-sama. Momo. Hello, he said, greeting friendly. Don't worry, I'm just coming to greet my father, he said while entering the control room. Aston. Princess Momo, what brings you here? She said, she with crossed arms. Momo. I came to see my father, I want to talk to him before he thinks about doing something to Rito's planet. Aston. I'm afraid that will be classified information, you are not authorized to know that yet, but I will tell King Deviluk about his visit. Momo. Muo, always so boring. Aston. By the way. Yo, you don't mind if we make some adjustments, right? Aston. Settings. Lala was hacking the controls of the ship upon entering it while her nanny scolded them, but she distracted the guards to take them away. Lala. Ready now. Let's wait. I just hope that Rito manages to convince my father on this occasion. They always end up fighting. With Rito and King Deviluk. The Deviluk king was walking with his servants while he told them about the possibility of conquering the earth to have better control over it and avoid the awakening of the primal gods that he had just heard, but he had a strange sensation, his body was being teleported, which seemed strange to him since he had not yet given the order to return to the ship. On the contrary, the trip felt longer and heavier upon reaching a cold and gloomy atmosphere. Id. You couldn't settle for your failure, right? You wanted me to remind you how much the difference is between us. You put up a good fight on Earth, and I respect that, and that's why I didn't use all my power. And bring me here. A lifeless planet, it only increases more chances against you, he said coldly while looking at Rito. The orange-haired man was next to Issei and Tsukyun, who looked at the king seriously. Issei. Is that brat your father-in-law? Rito. Don't underestimate him. He is capable of destroying a planet with one hand, he said seriously. Issei. Nice to meet you, sir, we are the best friends of the idiot who bucks his daughter, he said waving next to Tsukyun. Tsukyun. Will this be like the Z-Warriors against Vegeta or like the Z-Warriors against Frieza? Rito. Definitely against Frieza. Part 81. King of the Galaxy. The trio of teenagers now saw the little black-haired boy as they approached, while he stood up straight and looked at the three with a mocking smile. Id. I thought Earth was a pathetic planet that didn't deserve my attention, that I would conquer it once my daughters got bored of it, but after what its hidden leaders told me. I can't ignore this. Issei. We've already managed without help from stupid aliens, thank you. Id. Well. Now I'll catalog your planet with a decent irrigation level, and once I conquer it. You'll have to stop worrying. Rito. We had a deal, didn't we? Once I get the necessary strength, I would defeat you, take your place as number one in the universe, and marry Lala. If. Deal. He said with a mocking smile. Our fight on Earth was just a small test that I decided to put on you, you were a whim of my daughter, and I wanted to see if you were worthy of her. But do you really think you can take my place? You are nothing more than a child. You have not seen even a hint of my true power. I have not seen theirs, he said, remembering the faction leaders. Tsukyun. This brat really is irritating. Issei. Rito, kick his ass once and for all so he can go back to the girls, will you? Rito. With pleasure. Rito launched himself against the black-haired man, but he easily dodged Rito's punch and then grabbed him by his leg and threw him against a mountain. Id. Did they think that bringing me to a planet with less gravity would give them the advantage? A conquered millions of planets and destroyed thousands more, they will have to do something better than that. He said while dodging a blow from Tsukyun. We are no longer on Earth, boy, there is no need to hold back here. Rito. Neither do I. He lunged again at the black-haired man, using his superhuman strength to try to harm him, but the blow was stopped with one hand by the black-haired man. Tsukyun tried to help Rito again by trying to hit his opponent, but a black tail stopped his movement, the tail quickly lifted him into the air and slammed him to the ground. Id. Not bad, brat, now you have the strength of an average Deviluk, he said looking at Rito. Rito. And your condition is like a burnt sausage. Id. What? At that moment a large burst of black fire hit him. The black-haired man began to roll desperately on the ground, trying to put out the flames, while Issei along with his other two friends laughed when they saw that. Issei. He may be a king, but he's just a total idiot. When the black-haired man put out the flames, he looked at the three angry boys, while they had a mocking smile. You. Issei. Come on idiot. We will teach you the power of the earthlings, he said while a mocking smile formed on his face. On another side, Iridide's entourage was heading to her house mansion which was decorated with Christmas decorations, lights outside and inside. Upon entering, the boys quickly became captivated by such decorations, while Iridide with a Santa hat approached with a smile. Behind her was a nun, a Griselda who had a gentle and joyful smile. Rias. I'm glad they're back. By the way, where? Arena. But look at what a beautiful tree, she said looking at a big Christmas tree. I had never seen one that big. Griselda. I bet the gifts will be too, she said happily. Bekeno. That's right, tell me each of you managed to buy her lingerie. She said with a somewhat mocking and mischievous smile. Griselda. Each one. She said while she looked seriously at Zenobia who was sweating. By the way, isn't anyone missing here? You? Yes, I think my brother went somewhere. At that moment the boys got nervous since that meant that she was probably doing something crazy. They looked at the girls, especially at Riaz, but they were calm, and Riaz simply had a somewhat tired look. Riaz. If he told me that he would bring Ashino, Revi and his other friends to the party, he also said that he was fighting an idiot, but he didn't specify who. Bekeno. Issei is incorrigible. Well, at night we will punish him in a very pleasant way, Fufufu, he said while laughing with a big blush. Yuri. But you seems to be taking this very well. Riaz. Well, he always spends time with Yui and Lin, so he's fine. I hope he arrives quickly to go to paradise. Asia and Zenobia. Paradise, they said surprised and excited. Riaz. Michael Dono invited us. It will be the first time a demon has entered this. Although, we shouldn't keep him waiting, he said while leading his entourage to the basement. Riaz. It will be a spoonful of his own medicine that will teach him not to go on an adventure without inviting us. Said while Irina and Griselda made the preparations. But Issei and the others. Back on the red planet, the trio of teenagers continued using their attacks against the black-haired man, making the fight difficult for him. The three young men began to fight in a more aggressive and unrestrained manner. The attacks hit their target, causing damage to the black-haired man, while he became angry every time he received a blow from them. At one point the little black-haired boy separated from the three and tried to attack Issei. He dodged the black-haired man's attacks, but at one point he grabbed him by the neck and then slammed him to the ground. Issei quickly gave him a strong headbutt that made his nose bleed. The black-haired man saw the red liquid coming out of his nose in anger and threw Issei with all his strength into space, taking him out of the atmosphere. Rito and Tsukyun. Issei. Bid. Haha, one less, surely that idiot will faint due to lack of oxygen. Don't worry, I'll finish with you quickly to go look for him before he dies of asphyxiation, he said with a mocking smile. Both young men were upset by that, but Gid at one point saw a large shadow covering him. Strangely he looked up only to be crushed by a great force. On top of this callus an Issei with its wings spread. The little black-haired boy gave a loud cry of pain, while an Issei had a mocking smile on his face. Issei. Sorry, did it hurt you? I think so, he said while he was still on top of Gid. How you should be floating aimlessly in space. Issei. I have more tricks than you think, idiot, he said showing a black chain. The little black-haired boy at that moment saw how a kind of shackle was on Issei's leg holding him. That was what prevented him from leaving the planet and returning to the battle. Issei quickly put away his wings to quickly get to his friend's side. Issei. Hey guys, apparently I saw this idiot's fleet from space heading towards Earth. Can we get serious and kick his ass? Rito. Sure, she said as she began to remove some weights from her body. Lala did something special for me, look at this. At that moment Rito had taken out a lightsaber, which surprised the other two boys quite a bit. Tsukyun. I want one of those too. Issei. Great. While the boys were looking at the lightsaber, an upset Gid saw Issei. He looked at Issei with fury. No one had ever hurt him as much as this one did, and he was really a little curious about him. Issei. Guys, it seems like we already have company, he said looking at the sky. They saw how ships approached the planet while the ships looked around the atmosphere. Soldiers. Apparently there is a great fortress of energy and power in this place. I repeat, there is a very great fortress of power here. While the soldiers were analyzing the great power fort, and Issei released many lightning bolts all over his body. Thousands of crimson lightning bolts formed while the Devilu King watched him with some anger. Soldier. The computer registers a great strong energy coming from the planet. Could it be King Deviluk? Soldier. The computer records 4.6 life forms on the uninhabited planet. Issei quickly rose into the starry sky of space, while Yui and Lin were in both of the albino's hands. Yui. This will be a massacre. Lin. Yes, the planet sky, due to the great concentration of lightning, began to create clouds covering the sun, which made Sukyun smile. Sukyun. This was what he needed, he said while removing the rosary from him. The group of bats appeared out of nowhere and Sukyun's skin became paler and his eyes turned red, showing off his vampire features better. So this is the power of demons. Sukyun. Vampire. Issei. Demon, angel, dragon, possessed vampire. Haha, well this is getting interesting. The three boys launched themselves against the black-haired man again. Issei and Rito tried to cut the black-haired man, while Sukyun looked for an opening to hit the black-haired man. Was upset, it was the first time that a battle had been so difficult for him. He looked angry at the three boys, but especially at Issei, since this was the one who had hurt him the most. The black-haired man quickly put those thoughts aside to concentrate on the battle. Issei in the distance could see the fleet approaching, which made him get serious. Issei. Guys, I'll take care of the fleet, you kick the dwarf's ass. Both. Hi. Issei, in a burst of speed, propelled himself into the air. He saw the thousands of approaching ships with a smile. Yui. Master, I do not recommend killing them, in the future they will be allies. Lin. It's better that I suppress them. Issei. Yes I know, it will be easier if I scare them and prevent them from getting closer. Issei quickly launched a large burst of fire towards the troops. They used a kind of shield that protected them from Issei's attack. Issei. It seems like they are well prepared, so I'll scare them a little more. While Issei kept the large fleet of soldiers at bay, Rito and Sukyun fought against King Deviluk. Little by little the battle intensified more, and although Rito and Sukyun were very strong, they were not strong enough. Rito. Quick, his weakness is his tail now, he said, holding the black-haired man's tail. Sukyun. Makanka Sapo, he said to try to stab the black-haired man with the lightsaber. Nice try. The black-haired man quickly shook his tail, sending Rito flying, then he looked at Sukyun, but he was surprised when he was already very close to him. Using his agility he dodged his attack, but he could not prevent the brunette from cutting his cheek. Sukyun. Rito, are you okay? He only weakly raised his thumb as he also stood up. All this for just a little blood. He said looking at his cord next to his bleeding nose, you humans are complicated and suicidal. Sukyun. Didn't you say that his weak point was his tail? Rito. I don't know, it always worked with Lala. Ha, idiot, we soldiers and warriors train our weaknesses to destroy them, perhaps it is our sensitive point, but in my case and in the case of my soldiers, it is not so much. Now you will pay for this, he said, pointing to his wound. He quickly moved and hit Rito in the stomach, knocking the air out of him. Sukyun tried to help him, but he was grabbed by the head, and the black-haired man slammed him into the ground, creating a large crater. Little by little it seemed that the little black-haired boy took on a more mature form, while he beat up both boys. Ha, this was fun, but unfortunately none of you are on my level, idiots, he said with a mocking smile, while he had Rito by the neck. Don't worry, when I finish with you and conquer the earth, I will let you and my daughter continue together, maybe I will make you my elite soldiers, because of how strong you are, what do you think? Right? Rot, that will never happen. Who really? And who will stop it? Issei. Yo idiot, he said appearing at a stop behind Gid. The black-haired man turned his head to receive a strong blow that sent him flying and crashed him into a mountain. Issei. I'm sorry, idiot, but the earth already belongs to humans and will remain that way for a long time. Rito. Issei, he said weakly. Issei quickly using his flames healed his friends as they stood up. Sukyun. Thank you, sorry for not being able to defeat him alone. Issei. Don't worry, but it looks like that idiot isn't dead yet, he said while seeing the place where Gid crashed. A large smokescreen could be seen in that place, but a current of air dispersed the smokescreen, showing a more mature Gid looking like a teenager. TSCK. I hope you are happy, he said with an annoyed tone. It will take me years to recover that energy. If I finish this in 2 minutes, I will probably only get 2 years younger. The boys looked seriously at Gid, but Issei from afar saw how the ships were getting closer and closer now. Issei. I'll take care of him, he said seriously. Rito. But. Issei. Rito, no offense, but you don't have a chance with him. Don't worry, leave it to your best friend, he said with a smile. Rito, seeing Issei's smile, only smiled a little, and although it bothered him, he knew it was true, he had no chance against that guy. Issei quickly got into a lotus pose, while Gid looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Issei. Guys, this idiot soldiers are already arriving, please take care of them. Both. Hi. While the boys were talking, battleships approached them. Behind Gid, more than 500 or 600 soldiers came out to support their king. Sukyun. Shit, there are a lot of them. Rito. Issei. Lin supports the others for me. Lin. Hi. She took her human form to stand in front of the boys and launch a large flame of white fire. With a snap, Gid was able to make the flames disappear, while he had a mocking smile. Do you really think that you can burn me with that? Lin. That wasn't my intention, I just wanted to delay them a little longer, he said with a small smile. Soldier. King, a repeated power increase appeared. It at that moment felt a great power, not a normal one full of evil, a terrifying one that made even Issei's own companions tremble. Behind Lin, a black dome covered Issei. Little by little, you could see how shadows were beginning to take control of not only that small area, but the entire planet. Hyoudou and Sukyun, upon seeing that, only began to kick the butts of the soldiers next to Lin. Id still felt that terrifying power, he couldn't believe that there was someone with such terrifying energy. Id. Who the hell is that guy? He said, still looking at the dome. Soldier. Lord Deviluk, the energy continues to increase, I think we have to stop it. Id, upon hearing that, became serious, coming out of shock and in a burst of speed he headed to destroy that dome that covered Issei, but it was already too late. The dome that looked like a cocoon had suddenly cracked, and when Gid was already a millimeter away from hitting the cocoon, it broke. A large black energy exploded on the spot. Id was sent flying until he crashed into several of his soldiers. Hyoudou, Sukyun and Lin watched as a pillar of black energy came out of Issei, but Issei's body had apparently changed. Issei's hair was now black, his right eye was red, and his left eye was yellow similar to Yui's eyes, well, he had a mocking smile. Issei. Ha 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 ha, so yo, you are the idiot who wants to take away what is mine, he said looking at a kid getting up. Id. What the hell are you? Issei. Ha 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 ha, well, I'm the king of demons, you idiot. Issei, in a parade, appeared next to Gid, surprising him and kicked him, crashing him into a mountain. He did not stop after crashing into the mountain. He continued until he went around the planet where Issei was waiting for him and then gave him a powerful blow that made him crash against the floor. A crater the size of a small country formed at that time, and in the crater was Gid's head embedded. Issei. Ha 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 ha, king of the galaxy, you said, don't make me laugh as soon as you reach my heels, you idiot, he said arrogantly while kicking the badly injured Gid's body. Yui. Master, I think we have more company. At that moment large magical circles appeared behind Issei. The faction leaders noticed the huge crater upon arrival, and in it they saw an Issei with black hair and a different color of eyes. Not only demons had arrived, angels, celestials, also arrived. Fallen, Nordic and Yakase. From another magic circle the entire DXD group appeared and they looked at the black-haired Issei in shock. Issei. It seems that the reinforcements arrived, but what a pity that he had already finished off Thanos, he said mockingly, while the Gid was bleeding a lot from every pore on his face. Id. Monster. Issei just looked seriously at the black-haired man, who lifted him by the neck, while Gid soldiers watched in shock and fear. Issei. Look idiot, everything on that little planet over there pointing at the earth is mine, so if you want to conquer him, you'll have to step over my bastard corpse, ha 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 ha, who knows, maybe when I killed you, I took all your other planets and your army, ha 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 ha. Issei laughed in a crazy way, which increasingly scared Issei's companions and allies. On the one hand, Lala and her sisters were in shock, shedding tears. They never in their lives thought they would see her father, much less in a situation like this. Issei's factions and other allies saw him with fear, not only because of his power, but because he seemed totally out of control, as if the king of the demons himself was in front of them, although they had a point. Riaz. I know what's happening, he said with an annoyed look, while Leisha looked like she was about to cry. Issei. Well, this idiot said that he wanted to conquer the earth, so I had a little talk with him and his army. Right, dwarf? He said looking at Gid. He simply remained silent, but at that moment some chains lifted him into the air, while beasts made of shadows similar to wolves and demons from the underworld tried to bite or hurt him. Issei. I asked. Did you understand, idiot? Id. Why yes, he said with some fear. The Devolukians were totally shocked, their king, the king of the galaxy, had been easily defeated by a simple human according to them. Issei, seeing the terror in Gid's eyes, simply smiled evilly and then left him on the ground half dead. Issei. You can now take your king of the galaxy, although now I think that title belongs to me, ha 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 ha. Issei was leaving the crater while his girls looked at him with some fear because of his attitude. Issei. Don't worry girls, I won't do anything to you, you are my most precious treasure. So I won't hurt you, he said with a kind smile, but it was still scary to look at some. Hibba. You used it right. You. Your other transformation. Issei. What do they eat, what do you guess? Michael. Another transformation. Issei. Of course you don't know, right? Well, I am like evil incarnate, all the negative energy and sins in the body of a human. A pleasure, my name is Issei, the king of demons, he said with a sharp smile. The factions upon hearing that only trembled a little. They did not know what would happen if they had such a terrifying and powerful demon king among their ranks. Surziches. Sigh, well, let's finish this. He said tiredly. Surziches approached Issei with a tired look, while Azazel and Auden tried not to laugh at what was about to happen. Issei. Hello Surziches, how are you doing? Tell me, are you coming to give me a prize or something? Surziches. Believe me, I'm going to like this more than you think. At that moment Surziches with magic handcuffs imprisoned Issei. Well, Issei had a small smile but was somewhat confused. Surziches, Issei hyoudou, Yukirito, Aono Tsukyun are arrested for interfering and beating King Deviluk and breaking the diplomatic immunity with which he was received to Earth. A 3. Wite. Hard 82 prison. You can see 3 boys being arrested by the factions. These were taken by the soldiers of the demon faction. Tsukyun and Rito were normally taken with simple seals that prevented them from using any type of magic, but with Issei it was something else. He wore magic circles all over his body and also ties that oppressed his magic and movements. For some, like Issei's friends, it seemed exaggerated, but they agreed that right now Issei was more than a danger. Not only did he frighten most angels and demons, but he also caused total panic to most of them. His aura, power, and that almost deranged smile were the things that scared most of them. They felt that Issei would tear them apart at any moment, and having easily defeated Gid made it more possible for his imagination. While Lala and her sisters helped her father, the mass apologized to him while applying healing magic to tend to their allies' wounds. Surziches, my sincere apologies Gid Dono, he said while helping the now small Gid again. We are really sorry for the behavior of our allies. He said looking at an Issei who had a mocking smile. The demon factions will take care of this. Isaka. But how did those 3 manage to reach the atmosphere of Mars? Plus one of them is a human, are they crazy? Azazel. Surely knowing them. Michael. Teleportation to another planet is very advanced magic even for him, he said looking at Issei out of the corner of his eye. Azazel. Well. The important thing is that those 3 will have their punishment. Although the prison probably won't be as strong compared to them, he said looking at each of the 3 harem boys who were upset. Soldier. I fear that will not be possible, said one of Gid's men who was dressed in a military uniform and wearing glasses. You see Mars is out of their jurisdiction. The Deviluk Empire recognizes the Deviluk Empire for now. Underworld is an independent headquarters, at the same time being free from the interplanetary treaty. There is no known authority in this place, perhaps on Earth, but at this moment the aggressors of King Deviluk are on Martian soil. So those are our prisoners. The soldiers of the Deviluk Empire quickly pointed their weapons at the factions. The demons and angels raised their guard to begin the battle, leaving a lot of tension on both sides. Even Aden, Yasaka and Barakiel prepared to respond in case of a shot from these blasters, but a voice interrupted all that tension. Issei. You idiots are really annoying. At that moment Issei snapped his fingers so that thousands of chains with spikes will trap everyone present, as much as Gid soldiers along with the entire faction were trapped by the chains. They couldn't move at all, and if they tried to move even a finger they felt like their strength was drained very quickly. Issei. Listen you alien idiots, I'm not going to allow you to start some kind of mini war near my planet. I don't give a damn if their bucking king wants it that way. Don't let them see how I just kicked his ass. None of you are a match for me, so if you don't want to die, it's better that you get the hell out. The soldiers did not want to admit it, but they knew that Issei was much stronger than them combined. Even if his king fought him, he would surely be easily defeated. Azazel along with Surziches at that moment were going to stop Issei, but they noticed something, how Gid's small body was trembling, how he was sweating and looked at Issei with fear. Afraid of a fight with him? No, it was fear of dying. When he saw Issei's serious and severe eyes he could see his death reflected in them. He could even notice how he looked at him with mockery, as if he were simply scum, a simply cockroach that could be crushed by her black boots, and that terrified him. Lala. Odo-san, stop it, he said while he was standing in front of Issei. Since they were not tied by the now black-haired man's chains, I forbid you to start another battle very close to the earth. Soldier. Princess Deviluk. They. Nana. I know what they did. We know it since we helped them. Kurumu. What about you? Nana. We knew that my sister's stupid fiancé would start a battle with my father, but I didn't think you would bring a monster stronger than my father to the battle, he said looking at Issei who had a smile. We wanted our father to see the earth as an ally and not as a territory to control, so if they are going to arrest someone, it'd be us too, he said while his sisters stood at his side. Nana, did you really help those 3? Nana. That's right. Lala. Momo. Lala. Of course, Momo. I would do anything for my Yuki. Issei. I think you got yourself some very good girls, Rito, I'm proud of you, he said with a big smile. Sigh, if he locked them up and imprisoned their mother he would kill me. Demon King. Edo. Which one of you is now the king of the demons now? He said looking at Issei and Surziches. Surziches. It's me. Issei just makes fun of the title and uses it whenever he wants. Issei. He made fun of me about many things, that's right, but in this case I'm the most adult here, but as you want this time I'll let you use my title, he said, while taking out his cell phone. Hey, I have a signal here, so brilliant. Surziches only sighed at the black-haired Issei's new attitude as he looked at Gid again. Surziches. Yes, it's me. Well, Demon King Surziches, as one of my soldiers said, you have no authority on this planet. Momo. Odo. Id. Let me finish. As I was saying, I have no authority here either, since I have not conquered it. Yet. Men will escort those three to the nearest intergalactic prison in this solar system later. From that we will discuss the fate of those three and our terms of peace. Do you accept my conditions? Issei. I have never been to an intergalactic prison. I would love to completely dominate it. Azazel. I don't think that's a good idea, Surziches, he said, looking suspiciously at the black-haired Issei. Surziches. Well, that's fine. As long as these three idiots are alive, it's fine. Riaz. Ani-sama, you cannot do that. Id. Of course, my wife would kill me if I kill my daughter's fiancé before meeting him. I'll leave a couple of ships around the earth for you to talk to later. Surziches. Thank you. Id. Heh, okay, then we retreat, he said as his troops retreated. As Gid was leaving, he felt a chill run down his spine. When he turned around, he only saw the mocking smile of an Issei who was simply standing next to his companions. Issei. I look forward to our continued battle, dwarf, although I highly doubt that you can defeat me. Maybe you can get a bigger planet to fight. Well, that doesn't matter. Goodbye, dwarf, he said while his smile seemed macabre. Id quickly turned around and boarded his ship to take off and leave the place. Issei, seeing how the dwarf left in terror, only laughed somewhat arrogantly while his smile did not fade. Quickly, a group of soldiers who had remained behind chained the three boys with high-tech handcuffs that limited their strength, and the demons withdrew their magic circles. Asia. I will wait for you on Earth, Issei sent scream while crying a little. Riaz. Asia, don't feed him, we will all punish him when he returns home. Akeno. It seems that the Hex Dungeon will be useful after all, Fufufu. Tiba. If he comes back, of course, he said as he watched them leave. Issei at one point stopped and quickly moved so he could be in front of the girls and his friends. Issei. I miss you. When he said that, he quickly kissed them, making each one blush. Roswis. I Issei-kun. Issei. Don't worry, when I return I will spend a very long week with you, my beautiful girls. I promise you that, and that I will also conquer that prison in your beautiful names, he said while giving each of them a smile. You. It seems that Issei is still a seducer even if he is in another form. Issei. Don't ask me to stop being a man. Issei after that entered the ship while his two friends also did so. Azazel. Damn that idiot. Isaka. What's wrong? Azazel. Didn't you notice? He moved at a great speed and moved in a very relaxed manner. Those chains and shackles should prevent that from happening. Sighed. That idiot, how much strength does he have now? Yui. Don't worry, when it runs out of energy it will return to normal. I hope. Time skip. The DXD team arrived at Issei's house while they continued discussing the situation, some furious, others sad, others mocking like Kiba and Yu, while Gasper remained neutral with a pair of normal pants. Riaz. This is supposed to be a perfect Christmas. She said annoyed. The demons had finally arrived in heaven. My brother was discussing terms of peace, but Issei made everything go to waste. Tiba. Demons going to heaven, aliens coming to the underworld, and Issei in prison. It certainly seems like the end of the world. But now that I think about it, each one of us takes it in a different way, said while the sisters Issei cried along with Asia and Irina. Zenobia and Yuri comforted them. Akaneko seemed neutral along with Gasper, and Riaz was upset. But the strangest reaction was Akeno's, since she normally seemed depressed when the albino was not with her. But this time he had an expression full of sighs and lust. Tiba. Akeno-san. I know I'll regret asking, but what's wrong? Akeno. Ara, Kiba, don't you know? Being locked up in those places all day increases stress that Ice-kun will be able to relieve with our conjugal visits, she said, with a somewhat perverted smile and a blush. Zenobia. I hadn't thought of it that way. You. Please don't see it that way. Roswis. Although I would like to see the intergalactic visitation system, we have to think about how to tell Issei's mother about this. Maybe it's not the best time to talk to them about this. Riaz. You're right, plus I think she's having a great time with Red. Visara. Tell me what? She said, appearing with a cookie, and in her hand she had another tray of cookies. I made cookies, do you want? Riaz. Edo. Revi. Issei is in prison, Mrs. hyoudou, she said simply. Visara. What? Tiba. Hey, that's very insensitive. Visara. What do we do? Why is she in jail? Kaneko. She beat up a king who ruled the galaxy. Visara. It can't be. Red. Don't worry, he's a dragon, he'll be fine, she said trying to comfort the brunette. Visara. But. Red. Calm down, if you want I can go for him at any time. But for now we can be together more times, she said with a smile. Visara upon hearing that just smiled to hug Red gently. Visara. Thank you, Red-kun. Red. It's nothing. Both adults looked into each other's eyes at one point and were hypnotized, but before they could do anything else, Office kicked Red, crashing him against one of the walls. Red. What the hell is wrong with you? Office. Issei gave me orders to hit you if you try to do something wrong to her mother while she is away, she said simply. Red. You are a. Before they could continue through the door, an Ashino quickly entered through the door while he saw the DXD group in the room of the great mansion. Ashino. Riva I. Shinobu escaped. Where is Issei? Riva I. Damn. Basara. Edo. I don't want to interrupt, but someone else was with us, she said while a man came out of the kitchen so that Irina's eyes widened in surprise. Irina. Odo-san. Haha, how is my little angel? And another side. After descending at light speed to a different solar system, the ship arrived at a massive space fortress surrounded by a asteroid belt. GUARD-1. Yukirito said one of the guards when seeing the profiles of the new prisoners. With an advanced computer, he is from Terra.he, was the fiancé of Princess Lala Devaluke.his nature is human, but his anatomy is completely different, so to call it mutated. According to the data, because of resisting a great weight of gravity. GUARD-2. Aono Tsukyun. Also from Terra. His composition is completely abnormal compared to the average human. He has a kind of virus in his blood that gives him great weakness to the ultraviolet rays of the yellow sun. It seems that his body depends mainly on the blood of his species. Although he is capable of digesting other foods. The collar on his neck is supposed to suppress the virus from his blood, giving him a kind of immunity to the deadly rays. GUARD-1. Third subject. Issei hyoudou. From Terra. GUARD-2. What? Also from Terra. What does he do out of Rockham 2? GUARD-1. It seems that he caused problems to one of King Devaluke's flora. The boy also represents more than abnormal traits. It is almost impossible for a thing like him to even exist. His cells are completely different, being composed of cells of reptile. Not only that, the computer also registered that it has the same virus as resident number 2. The computer also registered an enormous amount of energy in it. Even now it seems that it absorbs it. Apparently he fought hand to hand against King Devaluke and GUARD-2. What happened? 1. GUARD-1. It is not known, only the captain knows that. That's how it is. At that moment, a beautiful woman with a voluptuous body, incredible bodies and wearing a military uniform appeared next to the two guards. That's not important to you, just do your job. GUARD-1. Hi Captain Makina, she said. She was nervous when she was in front of her superior. Makina. Those three are just idiots. Take them to Block S, she said, looking discreetly at Issei. GUARD-2. Captain, Block S is for the worst in the galaxy, there are the worst criminals, are you sure? The woman just looked seriously at the three of them, especially at Issei, who had a mocking smile and a bored look on her face. Makina. Isn't it obvious? They were just a nuisance for the Devaluke family, clearly they are trying to get rid of them by framing them as criminals to get another fiancé for Princess Lala. Block S will be enough, then we will send someone to remove their remains. The handcuffs were quickly removed from the trio of teenagers and they were put into Block S, which was infested with many races of aliens, with fangs, claws, tentacles, some slimy, scaly and with bulging eyes, others with completely black eyes or without them. Walking on all fours, on 6 or on 2, it didn't really matter that, the only thing that mattered was that everyone had their eyes on our trio of friends. Issei. Hahaha, it seems that this place will be easier to rule than I thought. While the boys were walking, an alien with tentacles instead of a mouth approached to speak to them in a strange language, smaller than the rest, mocking while pointing at a huge alien with an obese image while it was being fed by the smaller ones. Tsukyun. What did he say? Issei. It seems like he's trying to tell us that that obese idiot is king here. She said looking at that obese alien. It will be a real pleasure to torture you before killing you. Rito. By the way, when will Issei return to normal? Tsukyun. I don't know, but it's better that it stays like this for the moment, she said, looking at an Issei who had an evil smile. One of the aliens that had tentacles caught Rito's right arm and tried to attract him to devour him, but before that happened, Issei grabbed his tentacles and with a small black flame, caused him to catch fire. The other aliens saw this with fear and amazement. The boys heard the screeches of that alien being burned to death, while Issei had a more than evil smile on his face. In the end it was simply incinerated and left no trace, which made Issei smile more. At that moment the aliens looked at Issei with fear, but even more so when his boss stood up. Tsukyun. A fight. Issei. No, it seems that his boss is coming now, he said, looking at how the obese alien looked at Issei. The head of that block apparently gave a great roar that terrified the other aliens and made them retreat. The smaller alien approached them to talk to them mockingly, but keeping its distance out of fear. Tsukyun. What is this idiot saying, he said looking at alien for a while. Rito. He says that he is the leader of this block. His name would be translated as the Great Devourer. I prefer to call him a ball of butter, he said, while the little alien gave a huge sigh and began to scold him. Issei. Do you speak alien? Rito. Lala implanted a universal translator in my brain. It has made it easier for me to learn English and other languages. It is really very useful. Issei. Don't you have another one, but without having to put it in your brain? Rito. No, but I can make them, well. He said with a renewed smile and looking in all directions. I will need those aliens' necklaces, the speakers on that wall. And his leg. For me. Sukyun. I'll go for the speakers. Issei. I ask for the leg. And another side. Somewhere on Earth, deep in a forest, there was a blue-haired girl packing her things, while the rest of her servants helped her and a black-haired girl watched. Hela. What are you doing? Rainer. Apparently. Prepares gifts. Hela. Gifts. So that. Tiamat. It's not obvious Yujiji, Saturnalia is approaching. And now that I have a male dragon by my side, I will go to his side to spend that party at his side, he said happily. Hela. Saturnalia. Are you talking about the winter solstice? Why should we celebrate it? Although to tell the truth I hadn't had a party in years. Rainer. I think they call it Christmas Hela-san now, and it's about giving gifts to your loved one, said while Tiamat was holding lingerie. Tiamat. And to receive too, hehe, she said while a perverted smile formed on her face. Jason. Not to mention the food, he said carrying some relics. Rainer. To tell the truth, it will be my first Christmas with Issei-san, he said with a small smile. Tiamat. And mine, she said with a smile, but remember our deal, I go first, she said, looking at the black-haired girl who blushed a little. Yumi. But try to be careful, Tiamat-sama. More forest fairies say that strange things have happened, the factions have increased their security in all the borders. Plus various wizards, ogres and other creatures, they have been recruited for a great war. And those who resist are kidnapped. Flying is not safe. Hela. No. Who says so? They have a legendary dragon, the goddess of death. I think that if they mess with us, we will know how to handle it, she said. Well, they saw a huge blue flash in the distance, the sky became very dark for a few minutes, and then back to its light blue. Fujiyama. There is a human town in that direction. Also it is said that something incredible happened on the planet Mars. The people of the underworld call it the war, that will unite all the factions. Hela-san. Flying through the skies is no longer safe. Art 83 Dimensions. Irideed's entourage was arguing in the VIP room with the holograms of Surziches and Azazel about Issei at the moment. Riaz. But Ani-sama, what will happen to Ice? She said worriedly. Surziches. Peace terms have been given priority. Riaz. The case of Issei and his companions was postponed to the next meeting, although King Deviluk had to withdraw due to an urgent call from his planet. Azazel. Cough, his wife. Surziches. I fear that Issei will remain in prison for a couple of weeks. Asia. A couple more weeks. She said while she had teary eyes, but Christmas will be in a few days. Zenobia. Tequila Asia, she's probably making an escape plan or something now. Azazel. Besides, even if we could save the asses of those 3 idiots from the Deviluk fleet, they still have to face charges here on Earth. Roswis. Charges. She said while Azazel took out a long list to read aloud. Azazel. Kidnapping the Deviluk king despite having been granted diplomatic immunity as a show of good faith on our part. Riaz. Well, Lala said that her father would forgive that offense. Azazel. Damaging the surface of the planet Mars, which is used by the faction of the Roman gods as a heritage of their mythology and celebration rites to the god of war. Kaneko. That Issei doesn't own the entire world, and now he is the owner of the galaxy by defeating Lala's father. Azazel. In addition to having ignored, along with his friends, the orders of the mass not to attack the Deviluk king. That basically makes him a demon and rebellious angel. Bizarra. Ani-chan has always been rebellious. You. I don't understand why you're surprised. Riaz. Well, it's true, but. Surziches. Riaz, at this moment Issei also has to learn to be responsible. If we take him out of that pressure, he will simply learn that he is untouchable and that he can do what he wants. Hiba. Are we talking about Issei or a child? The hologram of Surziches approached his sister and placed her hand on the Irideed's shoulder. Surziches. I'm sorry. I will do my best to bring him back to Earth. But he will still have to take responsibility for his actions. While all that talk was going on in the living room, you can see how Issei took some snacks and sandwiches and then left in the shadows of him again, going to prison. After Surziches said his last words, the hologram of him disappeared. Azazel. Relax, his brother-in-law is the Mau, maybe they'll freeze him for a couple of centuries, but hey, maybe they'll let you have him in your freezer. He said mockingly so Riaz would throw a book at his hologram and this would disappear. Asia. Riaz Onasama. He said this with sadness. Riaz. Sorry Asia, regaining composure, it wasn't me for a moment. Let's take the afternoon off. Ravel. And what will we do? At that moment a shadow similar to Issei appeared and he had a letter. He gave them to Yui and Lin so that everyone could see the note that had some green and purple blood stains on it. Zenobia. Is it from Issei? Revi. He is the safest. Yui took the letter and began to read it aloud. Note, Issei. Hello guys, I know you're probably worried about me, but don't worry, I'm having a great time here. And I've made a lot of friends, and I've killed some of them. By the way, we are probably planning to escape, so don't worry, we will surely arrive at the Christmas party. I know this was important to you girls, so I plan to make it up to you for that. I love you, bye. Another thing, little Shinobu is with me, don't worry Ashino. P.S. Look at your cell phone Kiba. And note, when Kiba did that, he only paled. In him he saw a photo of an Issei standing on top of several alien corpses while Tsukyun and Rito accompanied him, but that was not all. In the next photo there was a brown-haired woman. Big breasts and a goddess body, that plus the message that said, "She will be mine," were the things that made him nervous. Rias. What's wrong Kiba? What should I send you? Kiba. Nothing, just a photo of him having fun in prison. Rias. I understand. Ashino. Well, at least Shinobu's thing is settled, come on Revi, let's take a light vacation. Revi. Finally, Zenobia. Hey Irina, what's wrong with you? You've been red and nervous since your father came, did something happen? Irina. And nothing, it's just. She said looking at a small box that she had behind her back, and it's nothing. The Grimoire group along with the others had already met the Chestnut's father, although he was surprised not to see Issei. This was the head of the Protestant faction. Despite his position he was a humble person and had no escorts despite the insistence of his faction. Of course, after meeting more of his daughter's friends he was fascinated with a new nature called his daughter, my angel, full of pride and affection. In the intergalactic prison, you can see how an Issei came out of one of his shadows with some sandwiches and a bottle of Pepsi while he saw Rito working with the translators. On the floor were a pile of alien corpses that Issei and his other two friends had killed since they wanted to eat them. After a while the boys went to eat, or as they called it, go to the garbage dump. Where all the inmates ate there was a kind of hierarchy in which the largest alien was in a corner away from our protagonists, while several smaller aliens fed him. Tsukyun. Issei, Rito already said that the leg thing was a joke, why do you still have it? Issei. It will be like a trophy, every time I see it or my future children ask why I have this I will tell them that his father bribed a prisoner with a diamond to give it to him, he said while he had a big smile. Tsukyun. Well, hey Rito, how are you doing with the translators? Rito. No pressure, it's more complicated than it seems. Plus some of the ones they brought me were soaked in blood and alien vices. That they couldn't have worked cleaner. Issei. I went for the leg. Tsukyun was the one who brought the rest, blame him. Tsukyun. Shut up, I couldn't help it, one of them tried to eat me. Issei. Haha, well, take your time, there's really no rush, he said with a somewhat arrogant smile as they settled into one of the chairs in the place. By the way Rito, when did you become a technological genius? Rito. Lala taught me. Not all of us can be supported by a rich Issei girlfriend or go to plunder the den of a dragon that lives in a cave full of gold. Tsukyun. Well, we already know who wears the pants in that relationship, he said mockingly. At that moment some chains trapped Tsukyun and made him kneel in front of Issei. Issei. Be careful what you say Edward, he said as an evil smile appeared on the now black-haired man. Tsukyun. Whispering Rito, this Issei is already scaring me a little. When will he return to normal? Rito. Whispering I don't know, maybe when his energy runs out. Issei. Hey, you idiots, you know I'm listening to you, right? Shit. Issei just laughed as he released Tsukyun. Issei really thought it was fun to be in that place, as if he were in a daycare or something like that according to him. While the boys continued working and chatting, our dear black-haired man saw how apparently the superior and leader of the prison walked around looking at the inmates. When Issei saw the brunette, he could only smile while licking his lips in a perverse way. Issei. It seems that I will add another beautiful girl to my harem. Hehehe. On Earth Issei's house mansion, while some of the girls tried to form a plan to convince the factions to get rid of the charges the boy had, Asia, Zenobia, Roswis, Irina and her father went to do some shopping for the Christmas project and the return of the albino because they trusted the note that he had sent them. The girls were buying some Christmas costumes while the brunette's father went to get some snacks. Zenobia. I think Issei's plan to call Krampus won't happen. Asia. But if he punishes people in a single night, he can't do it through space. Zenobia. I hadn't thought about that, I think Asia is right. Santa delivers gifts throughout the universe. Irina. What kind of person do you think Santa is? She said with a bead of sweat on the back of her neck. Obviously Santa teleports the gifts. Roswis. Irina-san, I thought your explanation only motivated them more, she said, looking at the other two girls' eyes shining. While the church trio and the Valkyrie were having a good time, the weather began to cloud over and release heavy rain. People began to run away quickly to escape the rain. The strong wind blew through the walls and glass of the church store. Roswis. I think it's time to go home or take refuge in a tent. The silver-haired girl quickly took the purchases and went to look for a place while the other girls looked for the brunette's father. Irina was beginning to worry because her father could be just as distracted as her, but it would never take him too long to return. As they walked through the park, they began to notice traces of blood, which shocked the other girls. They quickly summoned their weapons and equipment. Zenobia. Irina, the girl screamed while the brunette desperately searched for her father. I found something. The girls arrived with Zenobia to see the girl's father with a huge wound on his shoulder, while he was under a tree with a pool of blood at his feet. Irina's father, Yugaki-kun. How I'm sorry. He said, full of tears, but not because of his injuries, rather with a look full of regret at the man with long hair and a sword in hand that was in front of him. Irina. Stay away from my father, shout to launch magical attacks, bleeding with his sword and taking the form of his angel. The mysterious man dodged the brunette's attacks with some pirouettes. Yugaki. Kukuku, so your daughter is an angel. Is it the reward that heaven gave you? The reward for killing me and her? No, her. She said with pain in her voice. Don't involve her in this. I never asked for such a reward. Yugaki. I thought the killing you would fill me with pleasure. But I want to see your look when you watch how I kill your daughter. I will make you feel the pain that I felt that same day. The brunette and the brunette synchronized like in the old days to attack their enemy, although Irina left Zenobia behind with more enthusiasm and rage. No, Irina. Quickly the black-haired man's sword began to change shape, separating into 8 long parts, which took the shape of a dragon's head. Yugaki-kun, that sword. Looking at the sword in shock. No, stop. Yugaki. Ama no Murakumo Tsuguri. Zenobia tries to cut off one of the dragon's heads, but the other heads confront her, giving her enormous attacks with their fangs, forcing her to retreat, while Irina tries to move through the skies blinded by anger. One of the heads pierces her, opening her jaws to swallow it. The brunette tries to stop and back away, but it is useless. The dragons become bigger every second. Before the corrosive saliva of these dragons could touch her, multiple attacks of magical bombardments fall on these dragons, making them roar in pain. Irina looked back and saw Erasmus, who had launched more magical attacks towards the dragons. The silver-haired girl's attacks did not allow the dragons to attack, so the black-haired man had no choice but to flee. Yugaki. TSCK clicked his tongue while returning his sword to its original form. At least I achieved my revenge against you, Shidu, but so that she can rest in peace, I still have to exterminate heaven and the house of Baal. We will see Shidu's daughter soon, he said as he disappeared among the trees of the park until the girls could no longer sense his presence. Reinforcements quickly arrived. Asia managed to heal the brunette's wounds, but he was still in the same condition as before. Roswas. Poison, she said, looking at how the older man's wounds seemed to become more infected. Members of the church took him to heal him. The girls insisted on going with them because it would be worse for the brunette if she didn't go, who even with her wet hair brought tears to her eyes. Irina. I couldn't protect Dad, he said through tears and seriousness. While he waited outside the medical rooms, he was very happy when he knew that I had become an angel. But I couldn't protect him. Asia. Irina said this to hug and comfort her. Zenobia looked sadly at her friend. The 3 of them had their clothes soaked and full of mud. Some time later, Riaz and Azazel had arrived. Riaz. I'm sorry for not being present at that crucial moment, she said. She was a little sad when she saw her friends. Azazel. Apparently he was poisoned by an evil dragon. At this time the church faction, Heaven and we discussed preparing an antidote. Zenobia. And that dragon. Azazel. Yamaha no Arachi, his poison is not as fatal as Samuel's, but it is still dangerous, he said seriously. Griselda. For this reason we plan to send Mr. Shidu to heaven. But it seems that he still wants to talk to you, he said looking at the DXD team. The brunette quickly went to the medical room where she quickly hugged her father who was still in bed. She kept apologizing while the brunette told her that everything would be fine and it wasn't her fault. Riaz and the others notice how part of her body begins to turn a very dark gray color and he tries to hide them with his bandages. Irina. There is something I need to discuss before going to heaven. About the man who attacked us. He was a subordinate of mine, an apprentice, his name Itsugaki Nasaomi. And it's assumed that he was dead. Everyone. The Holy Grail, they all said at the same time, understanding that with the help of that artifact they had revived it. For a time we were informed that the sorcerers were being attacked. After trying to take action, ours were also attacked. Priests and exorcists, but what was related to their death were colleagues. You see, the church ordered his murder. And now he seeks revenge. To tell the truth, this whole thing feels like a horror movie. Irina. But why would I try to kill you, father? Because we were the ones who murdered him. Him and his fiancée. A demon from the Baal house. Said while Irina and Riaz opened the doors. Surprised eyes. He was a young boy. We tried to convince him to leave her, but he refused and the church had to take action on the matter. Of course what I did has no excuse, but they were different times. Before the relationship between a member of each faction was taken in a bad way. After a while in which Brown apologized to his daughter and his ex-subordinate, he was taken to heaven and the Redeed decided that it was better to know more about the subject by going directly to her house in the underworld. She teleported her entire entourage to Gremory territory to speak with her father, who welcomed her with great joy and asked her if she was pregnant. Zeoticus. Ria's blade. I heard what happened with Issei, it's a real shame. The fact that he's not here to do his job and get you pregnant is a real shame. Ria's. Father, I came to talk about something important. He said it would be well you see I. Zeoticus. Wait. You sniff. You're finally pregnant, he said excitedly. Ria's. What? No father, we already talked about this. I only came to know something about the Bale clan, my predecessor as Kuo's manager. Zeoticus. Sigh. Damn. So that's why you asked me for a meeting with the leader of your clan. Should I owe your mother now, he said, something annoyed. Ria's. What? Zeoticus. Just a little bet. Well, King Bale awaits us, he said, taking his daughter to the guest room. And another side. At a train station, the man couldn't stop looking lustfully at the group of women waiting for the train. Tiamat. I can't believe those three have convinced me to take human transportation, she said, somewhat annoyed. Rainer. Yumi-san and the others only care about Tiamat-san. After all, the city borders have extreme security. Hella. There is no rush, after all we can enjoy the trip, she said, sitting down while the train moved, but after that the train stopped due to the weather. The rain had become stronger in the region, forcing them to stop at a small stall. Tiamat. I've had enough, she said, taking out her wings. Rainer quickly covered the dragon's wings with her body so that the other humans wouldn't see her. Rainer. Tiamat-san, if we are going to fly, we have to wait until we are in a more private place. The trio of girls quickly went to the outskirts of the town to begin flying through the air over the cloudy sky, but while they were flying through the air, the lightning became stronger. Rainer. Kai, he screamed when lightning struck while he was holding on to the dragon. Hella. Issei's thunder is stronger, she said without flinching. Tiamat. And how do you know that? She said, jealous. Hella. Why did I fight against him, she said simply. Tiamat. Yes, it's true. While they increased their pace, they began to see how the weather prevented them from flying. The lightning began to fall closer to them, but each one of a different color. Hella. That lightning. Tiamat. Magic. Hella. This weather is not natural. Let's hurry up. While the girls were flying, they began to see black silhouettes surrounding them little by little, while Tiamat spit fire at them to drive them away, but it was useless. The figures returned and made kamikaze attacks against the dragon, managing to injure one of her wings, causing her to land forcefully. The forests. Hella. Those creatures. Tiamat. Yes. They had the smell of dragon. Not only that. Of humans, demons, fallen, other creatures. Someone is making chimeras. We have to. She couldn't finish since the three of them saw a blue back that invaded the area. When more girls turned around, they found themselves in a completely different place, full of a starry sky, large planets close to the atmosphere, completely unnatural snow on the ground. Hella. A barrier. Tiamat. No. It's completely different from that, she said, amazed. Rainer. Tiamat-san, Hella-san, she said, she's on top of a hill. You have to see this. The girls approached to see a huge pyramid that released a blue flash from the top. They could distinguish statues around them and a completely unnatural aura. Tiamat. We have to get out of here now, she said with terror in her eyes. Hard 84 problems. The Gremory group entered the guest room, which was very elegant and full of paintings that the Gremory king collected. Upon entering, they could see a middle-aged man with purple eyes and black hair. He emitted an aura of incredible power that managed to intimidate Yu and Kiba. How about Princess Ria's, the man said with a smile as he stood up and politely kissed the Redeed's hand. My name is Zekrom Bale, the leader of the Bale house. Ria's. The pleasure is mine, the Redeed said politely as she bowed. Zekrom. Gremory group, I have heard about your achievements. I have also heard that you get along well with one of our members. Saraog, so much so that he has even mentioned marrying one of yours. Edo. Yes, I don't remember, that was a human woman, right? She said to make Issei's brothers feel a little uncomfortable. Well, that's not the point of our meeting, is it? More like. From the previous leader of that city. She said. Well, the Redeed listened carefully to every word. Where should I start? You. Well, for the beginning, she said simply. Irina. Please tell us, she said while she had concern in her eyes. My father. Right now he is the target of that terrorist. Please tell us what happened. The black-haired man looks at the brunette in amazement as she reflected, worrying the young people about having offended him. Zekrom. You are an angel, right? You say that your father is involved. I presume that he was one of the agents sent by the church at that time. By chance is your father the human named Shidu? Irina. Yes, that's right, I'm Irina Shidu, and my father is Shidu Tauji. Zekrom. I see. Some experience in managing a territory. But one of those young people stood out among all. Cleria Bale. Despite her young age, she managed a city like any experienced demon would have done, but due to many coincidences, Cleria began a relationship with a human, but that is not uncommon even in the human world. Many of us find pleasure in sharing our time with them. Although things change if these are members of the church, he said, surprising the young people who already knew where the conversation was going. They were really different times. Although, before it would not have been allowed for an angel to descend to the underworld, now it is, after all. Nobody imagined that peace between the factions would come to this point. A relationship between members of the church and demons was not strange, at least not if the demons used them as hexwell toys to corrupt them, but a romance was something really crazy. Irina. So that woman Belial and the swordsman were. Zekrom. Both sides tried to convince them to leave this relationship aside. She used him as a toy, and he fell into temptation. We repeated that on both sides. Even between us there was that respect, but Cleria took this relationship as something serious. Allow this relationship as something it would be. Allow this relationship as something that could have separated us, or at least that's what we thought. And just like the church, we decided to take action on the matter. To protect our rules, we had to put an end to what we considered incorrect. We had not converted into the church. Haha. That's when you realize that we are different sides of the same coin. Riaz. So both of you. Zekrom. Not only them, their servants, although they died a respectable death for fulfilling their role as such, and on the other hand the members of the church in charge of that mission were promoted, rewarded, and others began to doubt their beliefs. For our part, we hid everything related to her, giving a different reason for her death and placing a replacement so that no one would suspect. Zeoticus. And a talented young woman was the ideal, right? The heir of the every Grimory, carrier of the Baal blood and sister of the Mau Lucifer, was the most suitable option. Correct. Riaz. But why did I hide? Zekrom. The path of peace is flooded with blood. You and your father may not have known anything, but your older brother Serziches knew the truth. If he did not tell you, it was only to not give you more pressure. I am impressed by how he orders his priorities as Mau, and as a brother. And above all, it leaves me surprised. If only peace had come sooner, he said reflectively. After a while, the leader of the Baal began to chat with the young people about the possibility of Issei becoming a Mau or something like that. The boys didn't really like him, since Issei is very irresponsible and always does what he wants no matter what. Where or when it is. Riaz. Lord Baal. He said, looking at the man seriously. I love hyoudou Issei. Zekrom. Yes. I no longer deny that romance between two different species. In fact, many already see him with respect or fear. Personally, I think he is a great guy. Sighed. Reminds me of me when I was young, said with some nostalgia. After that conversation, the boys returned to the house mansion where they told Azazel everything. The girls began to get sad because Irina was still very worried about her father. Asia and Zenobia tried to distract her. Riaz and Lefay, for their part, kept scolding Kaneko and Kuroka since they kept playing with the hanging Christmas balls in the big tree of the place. While in the hallways, Ravel was seen talking with a magic circle with her mother to get Albino a good lawyer. Just in case. Time skip next day. The next day, the Grimory group went to the first paradise to see the Chestnut's father in the medical facilities in heaven. The man looked in better condition. His limbs were beginning to have a more natural skin tone, although he still continued to lower his gaze when they mentioned what they heard about the situation with the Baal clan. Augie. Irina. Said that while listening to the young people and his daughter. Before, we thought that the relationship between a member of the church was something unforgivable. We tried to convince Igaki, but he did not give in. Things were beginning to get complicated. The higher-ups of the church were asking for a report on the situation. I couldn't tell them that the target was still alive, at least not while linking her to a demon. One night, his last night, the leader of the Baal appeared before us. He said, "We must cooperate. We too want to keep this quiet." Said in a sad tone when remembering that. Irina-chan, Daddy's hands are stained with blood. Said while her voice broke. They are so dirty that not even I can call myself to my mission like the father of an angel. Sometimes I am even tortured by the idea that if peace had not come. Maybe you. The man couldn't finish as the brunette hugs him and he begins to shed tears while he sees him. Irina. Father. You are not the only one who has stained his hands with blood. The church, the demons, the heavenly and fallen angels. And now peace between the factions is a reality that demons continue to defend. After a while of hugging between them, her father took out a huge briefcase which was next to his bed and insisted to his daughter that she would open it. Augie. Take it as an early Christmas present, he said with a small smile. The brunette opens the suitcase and is amazed at its contents. A heavenly aura illuminates her face, and she sees herself in the reflection of the sword inside her. Augie. The sacred sword It is said that it can only be touched by those of pure heart. Irina. I know that what I will ask of you will be very selfish, but please stop Igaki with this sword. Irina. Hi, he said this with a smile. After a while, the Grimory group began to leave the medical facilities. While enjoying the sky a bit, Riaz began to see Irina very thoughtful and decided to speak up. Irina. Riaz and. Do you think that if peace had not come between the factions, Issei and I. Riaz. Of course. He doesn't care about the rules. He always does what he wants. He didn't care when Hela was a danger. Or when Tiamat tried to kill him and his sister. I'm sure he wouldn't care if his childhood friend had turned into an angel. The insurance would have kidnapped you or something like that, he said with a smile. Irina. And you would blame him? Riaz. Deep down I would like it. But it is his attitude that is me enchanted. After all, if it weren't for his attitude at this moment, I would have a forced marriage. Irina, hearing that, only calmed her nerves and thoughts a little more, while she smiled slightly as she imagined an Issei dressed as a bandit trying to take the brunette's wedding dress while they were both on top of a giant tree in the sky. After a while, the Gremory group rested in an open space, a kind of park in paradise. These were seen by the rest of the angels in amazement because they were demons, and even some of them began to have their feathers turn black, being deceived by others. The girls laughed while they put up imaginary situations of how the albino would react if they were separated by some situation like the previous human and demon couple. The girls had slight blushes as they imagined an Issei doing everything possible for them to be together and that guy about things. The boys continued chatting, but a loud roar erupted throughout paradise, splitting a large part of the floors and collapsing buildings. The DXD group was quickly called by Griselda to go to the strategic control room. Michael's men and other saints were present at the scene. Seeing the situation through several holograms similar to security camera screens showing the situation on all floors of paradise, evil dragons invaded the place while the angels fought them. Angel? According to the computer, the attack begins on the third floor, the floor where all the souls of the dead reside. The image also shows Layden, Wolberga, Crom Cruich and other figures that they cannot identify. Zenobia. But how would Millennium enter heaven? Azazel? Most likely they entered through the realm of the dead, he said in hologram form. Riaz. Azazel, how is the situation over there? Azazel. Not good, the entrance to heaven was closed, we can't send reinforcements. Do you have any idea of the ulterior motive of this attack? Griselda. No, all the Seraphim are focused on defending paradise. Riaz. Do you think they try to affect the sacred gear system? Azazel. It's too complicated, even for Michael. They probably come for something that can be useful for the war or for the other factions to give them their support. Griselda. Even with the Holy Grail they couldn't summon the soul of the dead from here. Unless Limbo and Purgatory. Azazel. Hades. That son of a bitch could have created an entry. Angel. I confirm, he said while reviewing the situation. The door that leads to the third paradise has been destroyed, without a doubt they come from Purgatory. Griselda. But what would they look for from the world of the dead? Azazel. Rizavan searches for creatures for his army, not only that, he searches for weapons and gods of chaos. Maybe this needs a large container to keep it on this plane. Tell me, Metatron. He died before God, Azazel said, a warm and sweet voice as he approached the room. It was a blonde with great attributes and innocent looks. It was Gabriel. His remains were put in a safe place. Azazel. Gabriel, I hate to argue with you, but there is no safe place right now. Gabriel. What are you basing it on? He said with a pout. Azazel. Well. Paradise is being attacked, don't you see it? He said while an explosion sounded in the distance. While Azazel, Griselda and Gabriel were still thinking about a plan, Irina sees on a monitor the man who attacked her father near the medical laboratories. Irina. Odo-san, she said looking at how Yugaki was near him where his father was. Riaz. Anyway, let's move, we are the DXD anti-terrorist team, we will cooperate with the angels and defeat the evil dragons. All. Hi. The DXD group quickly headed to the fifth paradise to support the other angels, while Gabriel watched through one of the monitors as one of the evil dragons Layden destroys several buildings and suffocates several angels with his roots, while Crom Cruich enters the important facilities. With great ease, Gabriel approached one of the local angels. Gabriel. Go to the laboratories and tell Daedalus and Minos to activate the Icaros project. Angel. But Gabriel Sama, Michael Sama says that. Gabriel. We must protect our people. Even if we expose our entire arsenal. In another side, large explosions came from the snow, the echo caused small avalanches and especially large flashes. Tiamat. Yes, of course, try not to attract attention, he said while they had an aggressive aura and their clothes were torn. Hela. Still don't try to take your dragon form yet, she said. She's wearing Garmin armor form. Tiamat. Yes, I know, if we use more power than usual we will attract the attention of others. Hela. The others. Tiamat. You can't feel them, but there are too many of them. You can see an Issei apparently in the prison showers. He was taking a shower alone, but at that moment he felt the power and the problems that were happening on Earth. Issei. I wonder if I should go help them. At that moment something came out of Issei's shadow, a blonde loli who was also naked and hugged Issei's back. Issei. I was wondering when you would show up, tell me, shall we come back and help them? Shinobu. It's your decision, not mine. Issei. I think maybe I'll do a few things here before I go help. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.